Now, as part of Africa Day celebrations, Pan-African digital agency eNitiate launched a social media campaign called #AfricanLanguagesDay. This aims to encourage Africans to speak their indigenous languages more frequently on social media platforms. Willie Siyama is the founder and CEO of eNitiate Integrated Solutions. He joins us now in studio. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. I mean, it's a pretty interesting way of getting language recognized. Languages that many argue are being forgotten. Tell us more about how it works.
Absolutely. We have we have over 2,100 languages on the continent right now. But 70% of the Africans tend to speak the top 10 languages across the continent, as it were. Kiswahili in Tanzania, Kenya, and the surrounding countries. To the west, there are three main languages, being Hausa, Yoruba, and Igbo. There's also Fulani that kind of covers the Central African side of things. When you come south, DRC, you find Lingala. There is Shona in Zimbabwe, and there's Zulu and Xhosa in South Africa. I mustn't leave out Somali because the Somalians are not going to be happy about that. So we find that those tend to be the most spoken of the languages on the continent, as it were. But what has been found is that Africans don't tweet in their languages, and this is why we thought it is proper that on the 25th of May, which is Africa Day, we must encourage Africans to do so in their indigenous languages.
So it's 10 past 10. How's that going so far? People actually doing this or not?
People are doing it. We wish there could be more. I suppose people are still trying to get into the practice of doing so in their languages. And we're also saying to people, you don't have to be pure as such. You can do what they call baby tweeting, where you are mixing languages. As long as you give as much of the attention to the indigenous languages, that will do for now.
Now, a 2003 study by UNESCO showed that the world's native languages are in danger of extinction by the end of the century. I mean, that's worrying.
Absolutely, and what makes it even worse is that the bulk of those languages that are going to die come from Africa. There is a language as we speak which is called Ngu. I hope I am pronouncing it correctly. It is part of the Khoisan languages. It is currently being spoken by only 3 people, and all of them are in their 80s. So when you consider cases like those, and it's becoming worse because the millennials, they are texting more than they are talking. So when you sit with a situation where they don't use their languages and they text more, the implications are really very clear for all of us.
Yeah. Now, on your social media drive for people to use African languages, there are some setbacks. I've read that the indexes on Twitter, for instance, don't really match up to what languages require.
That's true. Again, taking you back to the top 10 languages that I was talking about, there'll be top 11, including Somali. Of those languages, only Kiswahili can be translated on Twitter. And this happened at the beginning of May. So all along, Kiswahili itself, which is the most tweeted language on Twitter, by the way, it wasn't indexed for translation purposes until the beginning of this month. So you still have a lot more African languages that don't see the moment in the sun on Twitter. So the hope is that when the likes of Twitter and Facebook see the throngs of people who are posting and tweeting in their languages, that will make them sit up and take note.
But studies do show that Africans prefer to tweet in English. Why is that?
That becomes the issue, and I suppose there are all sorts of reasons that we give to that as Africans. One is, well, many of our languages don't have a commercial value, so why do we use them on platforms that have a prospect that they can give us some economic benefit? The other is that we speak in languages that the world doesn't speak. So in terms of being able to connect with people outside of the continent, or even within the continent for that matter. isiZulu is spoken mainly in South Africa. When you go past the border, you don't find it in many of the territories of the continent. So people gave those reasons, but we're saying, guys, there's 365 days. Can you dedicate only this day to African languages? And we're saying, don't tweet only once, tweet the whole day. And let's try and make sure that we can flood the social networks with our languages, because only that way we will get them to take notice. Hence, we're using the secondary hashtag, which is African Languages Matter.
Now, South Africans, of course, use their language a lot on social media, on Facebook posts, on Twitter. I've seen it. I've even learnt words. Yaz is a word that I now use in my daily language, and it's only because I've seen what's on social media. So is there a difference between how South Africans are doing this compared to the rest of the continent?
Funny enough, East Africa is where the bulk of the people tend to tweet in Kiswahili, as it were. In South Africa, we do that, but we do a lot of baby tweeting, so that it's not a purist way of using the languages. But we're saying, hey, we're better off using some of the languages like Guzobalit, as opposed to not saying anything at all. If we can use a few more words in our tweets, even better.
Yeah. Okay, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it. I'm going to give you the last word on why people should tweet using the African language in your language. And let's see if we can get that right. So tell me why they need to do it.
Rekopa ma-Afrika ohle. Iseng batho ba Afrika Borwa fela. Ma-Afrika ohle a mpaleke hore a sebedisa maleme a ona di social media mona hobane ha re sa etse jwalo maleme a rona a keke a thola di social media di keke tsa iphumana le hore di nkela maleme a rona hlohong. Ke lebohile.
Okay, thank you so much for that.